use the table. I mean, I like to just flop it up on the table.
Oh, you use a table.
Oh yeah, it's kind of nice.
Oh.
I'm just going to lay it up there.
Can we? I swear to God, we should be doing this right now.
Measuring it right now.
Welcome to Swinger University, your horizontal enrichment program. Bringing you an educational podcast about swinging. Here are your hosts, Ed and Phoebe.
Hi, this is Ed.
And this is Phoebe.
You have big feet, therefore you have a big penis, right? Today we're talking about dicks. All dicks. In fact, our episode got so big, we had to shove it into 2 episodes and 4 blogs.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's partly my fault.
That it got so big? Yeah. It's always your fault that it got big.
People tend to overestimate themselves in all things, and penis size is no different. Then you start swinging, and now everything gets accentuated. Swinging makes us vulnerable in different ways. We want to look good to our new sex partner, perform well, and satisfy them. All this gets tested in the swinger environment each time you encounter different people.
So what's interesting or frustrating or whatever. So swinging down under, casual swingers, and I can't remember the other guy.
Some single guy.
Some single guy.
Some sexy single guy.
Who has his own, he's like a Twitter personality or something. I will get all of their names. They will be in the show notes.
Oh, good.
They did an episode about dick size at or should we just call it the event that shall not be named? The
event that shall not be named.
And we saw that post and we both looked at each other and go, fuckers, we were going to do that episode. We had the notes already. And they, of course, they stuck their dicks in it before we could.
Yeah.
But
we're
going to do it bigger.
We're going to do it bigger and better. So this is Phoebe's mind, right? Phoebe's mind's like,
if it's just 20% better.
I'm like, God damn it.
I just need to
the
look
competitive side of me. I'm going to research this motherfucker. And this is what happened. I get down a rabbit hole and I start learning shit, and I start going, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? The more I read down the rabbit hole. And then pretty soon 2 episodes and 4 blogs. And I think there's a Patreon episode as well. So there's a lot.
We've got some content about dick size.
Yes.
And it's more than that.
It is more than that. So satisfaction. Most men believe that the average size of an erect penis is 6 inches. Only 58% of men are satisfied with their penis size. So it's just a little over half. Yet, 84% of your women are satisfied with it. So this is good, right?
You would think.
Right. And so why is this? Potentially low confidence, because you don't think that you measure up to a large group of self-reported studies. Hint, hint. Maybe not wanting to be watched or seen naked.
Well, and I'll comment in on this as a penis owner myself. Pornography really does a mind fuck on everybody, men and women, but we're dealing with the male issue at hand. In hand?
Oh, ooh, in the hand. Mm.
And I can tell you without a doubt that watching porn, where almost all of the porn stars that are there have 8-inch plus penises, you kind of go, yeah, I'm small.
Yeah. And they're girthy.
They're
very girthy.
They're freakishly large penises in porn. I'll just leave it like that.
So subconsciously, did I pick all my ex-husbands in this way?
Probably subconscious bias.
How did this happen?
So pornography, erotic literature, the spam emails about growing a larger penis, and if you take this pill or use this pump or you rub this magic horny goat weed on your penis, it will grow, you'll gain 3 inches. All these ads, all of this marketing appeal to that insecurity that all guys have.
I know.
And
it's
fucked
just
up.
It is. It's fucked up. So there is this narrative that has spanned over 70 years based on those self-reported studies.
Right.
And we are going to get into that. And I'm not joking. 70 years of narrative that is fake. All right. Big dick kink.
Right.
I think some of it can be a kink.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion specifically about certain ethnicities and kind of having a fetish aspect to it.
Right.
The big dick is another fetish. It's a visual thing. It's it's a sensory perception thing. It's that full feeling, that whatever, or the fact that you can smack her from across the room with your penis.
Oh my God. Right. Or people just want, it's different. As swingers, we like novelty, right? We like different environments.
Novelty cock, I love it.
Right. Like, what does it feel like to have a cock inside my mouth that's big? Can I take it all in?
No, you can't.
Right. So like, as a woman, you may be like, ooh, it's a cool, like, it's like sucking those rocket popsicles that are red, white, and blue.
Right.
Like if you can get that whole thing in your mouth, I mean, good God, girl, you've got it going on. Because
there's some OnlyFans content for you.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Sensation for some women, it actually does feel better.
Sure.
We will talk about all of that in the next episode.
Right.
Dick size, what women want. Because there is a sensation aspect to it. But you won't know that until you've tried it.
Sure.
But first and foremost, it's that narrative over 70 years that's incorrect. And then there's kind of that kink. And then there's the porn industry, which all those things play a part into, oh my God, I don't even have an average cock.
Well, and that's the thing.
It's not true.
Before we jump into the myth aspect of it, to just touch on the pornography a little bit more, it's the same problem that you have when you watch Hollywood movies. Mm-hmm. Occasionally there's an actor in a Hollywood movie that's not an attractive person. They're kind of the weird looking dude, the Danny DeVitos, right? Where you look at him and you're like, oh, he's like the comic relief of the particular whatever.
Right.
But the rest of those people, holy crap, they're like really attractive people.
Yeah.
But they're not everyday people. They don't have any flaws. There's nothing wrong with them. They're like stereotypically beautiful.
They do have flaws. They just spend most of their day at the spa, and then they have a makeup team making them look good.
But the point is that it's not a realistic depiction of everyday people.
Correct.
These are unusual people. They got picked out of a casting call because they didn't fit in. They didn't blend in with the crowd. They stood out in some way.
Right.
So when you think about pornography, they pick these guys out, and the women for that matter, because they're kind of freaks. They don't fit in. They're not the normal people. They're kind of oddly proportioned.
Yeah.
But in a way that goes, wow, that looks fucking huge on a camera.
Right. You know what? I never thought of this. I wonder if the cameras, you know how the
camera adds 10 pounds to your cock.
Well, and when we take selfies, you know how basically the angle
down, left, right
makes you look larger and smaller and different. I wonder.
have yet to figure out the right angle and lighting to make my cock look bigger.
All right,
That's
we
a
can
whole
work.
other thing. We got to work on that.
We can work on that.
So what is this myth? What is this 70 years of mythology?
Right? Oh, so I'm going to tell you. So most of this myth is based on self-reported findings.
And specifically, the 6-inch average penis myth is what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Basically, back in 1948, a researcher from the Kinsey Institute did a self-reported study. He put an ad in a magazine, something like that, and said, "Hey, send me your dick size," blah, blah, blah. And so people did, and he didn't actually publish it for a really long time. And
a couple decades even.
Exactly. A couple decades. And somewhere around the 80s and 90s did this, maybe it was the 70s, 80s, the report came out. There will be a blog on this where researchers picked up that study and they started publishing the information.
Right.
Right. And so.
Go ahead.
So now we're 20 years in, right? No one's verified this. It's not done in a controlled environment.
That's the thing. This is self-reported. And I was under the impression that the Kinsey Institute was a reputable scientific institute that ran peer-reviewed scientific studies. And they normally do.
They are, but back then they didn't, because this was in 1948.
Yeah, but even then, we had science in the 40s.
I know, but
this particular study, they either felt awkward about actually people coming in, becoming erect, and whipping it out on a table with a ruler and having a nurse or a technician measure their cock.
Right.
So they had people self-report, which of course you go,
oh, well,
holy shit, I can leap tall buildings with a single bound.
That looks like it's 5.5. Yeah, we'll just add a half an inch. That's 6.
I always round up to 8 because, you got to have an even number that's divisible by 4.
Exactly. So you see the problem. Okay. So there's that. They did about 21 studies since then, which will be in a blog, that they still were self-reported. So they're asking people on the street to self-report what it was. They're, again, asking people in magazines, asking, all these questions. No one's actually doing it in a controlled environment. Why? Because, to your point, they're kind of uncomfortable being around a guy with an erect penis. Like, how?
It's the 40s.
Right?
We don't talk about sex.
We don't talk about sex. We don't look at sex. It's all done in the dark. It's all the privacy of the home, blah, 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 blah. Right? God forbid if you were to actually touch an erect penis in a scientific way. I know. It's all very strange.
I volunteer as tribute.
Biases. So there was a volunteer bias as well. So the type of people that were responding were those that were really confident with their penis size. They're like, fuck yeah, I have an 8-inch cock. I'm going to fuck yeah, right? I'm going to write that in. I'm going to respond to that.
Right. Or at least, even if they didn't have that size, they felt comfortable saying what size they were, which of course, if you felt insecure or inadequate, you're not going to come forward and respond to some survey. You're like, yeah, I have a micro penis.
Right.
No.
Okay. So yeah. So again, not very
There's
scientific.
Another bias, right?
A bias. Then there's the other bias of social desirability, which elicits types of responses that are socially acceptable at the time.
Yeah, and you don't want to necessarily exaggerate either. So let's just say all of these guys were being honest, so to speak, or not over-exaggerating. Let's say some of them were even under-exaggerating because they didn't want to be, I don't want to say I'm too big. My cock is freakishly large, so I'm going to under-report, right? Without somebody verifying this, and you're going to give them a socially responsible answer.
Right. Unless you are a gay man and the gay men actually self-reported their penises to be 6 to 8 inches whether they were or not.
Interesting.
Yes. So gay men way over reported.
So if you're gay or bi in the lifestyle, if you want big cocks, that's where you go.
Exactly.
I guess. Or maybe not.
So
I don't know.
I was like, oh my God, I was fascinated by this. And I felt horrible for men because we're talking 70 years of information, quote, scientific studies. That's shit. Absolutely shit. It's complete crap.
And because it's represented or presented by the Kinsey Institute, it sounds scientific. I've been reading sex journals and documentation since I was way too young to actually be reading this stuff.
The encyclopedia. We know about your encyclopedias.
The Joy of Sex and those kinds of books. I had access to that stuff, so I read it.
Right.
And it's disturbing to me to reread this again now, understanding a little bit more about science and biases and how statistics lie and all that kind of stuff. How far off the mark this whole thing was, and how it never should have been published at all.
I know, but I don't want to bash them too much. They are very reputable.
Oh, I am.
Now.
I'm going to smack them around with my cock. Because this is just bullshit reporting.
Because you already indicated that, they somehow didn't follow all the scientific rules of a study because this was very socially unacceptable, right?
Well, and to be clear, they said it was self-reported. They may have even reported the results with that self-reported disclaimer in it. But if you're not reading through that with a critical eye, you don't necessarily pick apart the self-reported part in conjunction with the numbers that are in the middle of the report. That's a pretty specific distinction that you need to make. And you'd have to be a researcher in order to go, oh, wait a second, they said self-reported, therefore it means this.
I'm going to say it's mostly at the fault of the people who picked up the research findings 20 years later, because the Kinsey Institute did not report that stuff. They didn't publish it for 20 years. It was the other researchers that grabbed their data 20 years later and said, oh, we are going to use this as
established.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're very reputable. So I don't want to bash them too much.
No, I'm not bashing Kinsey. I guess I'm poking at the public school system and the general lack of critical thinking that you have to be very particular when you read statistics to know what it means.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. The big problem with statistics is
you can interpret them almost any way you want to. You can skew them.
Which thing you're reading, and if you just happen to gloss over that self-reported part, you go, here's the numbers. I'm reading the numbers. And it's like, well, yeah, but the numbers are kind of bullshit. So,
Right.
Big dicks.
Yes.
Advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to let you touch this one because
it's all me.
Because I'm not putting this one in my mouth.
So a disadvantage for a small mouthed person, if it's too thick or girthy, you can't get it all in your mouth. And so what I like about swinging is I get to test drive all different types of sizes.
Sure.
And for some men, I can get all of it in my mouth, and it's exciting. It's fun, right?
It's kind of a game, right? Like
it is.
I can get the whole thing in,
right? Because I have to accommodate for teeth and all the kinds of things like that, right? And it gets actually, after a night of swinging, my neck actually hurts from opening my jaw wide, giving oral. So I don't know if it's a tight jaw, or I know I have really strong jaw muscles, abnormally strong jaw muscles.
You just don't have an anaconda jaw that can dislocate in order to swallow.
I wish I did. That'd be so fun.
That'd be kind of weird. But sexy at the same time.
The other disadvantage is if it's too long, you can't get it all the way in my vagina because my vagina is not that deep.
Right.
So, I have been with two very long individuals, and they could never grind up against my vulva because there's 2 or 3 inches
right
standing away from my vulva to their pelvis because there's dick the dick is too long.
The dick got in the way.
So clit and pelvis aren't being stimulated, and then there's that auditory, the smacking noises, which I really, really love. And so I don't get any of that.
Yeah, how can you smack your balls against the clit if you can't get that deep? If you can't get deep enough to like.
Yeah, I mean, wait, clit? Wait, which position are we in when that happens?
Oh, that's doggy style.
Oh.
If you get the ball slapping on the clit, that's doggy style.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So then, then you're anal. If you like anal, which I do, and then you go in that way. And I did try it with the guy who was really large.
With the anaconda?
Mm-hmm. And it was nice.
Oh.
It worked.
Could he get all the way in?
Yeah.
And there you go. There's the lower intestines for you. They can accommodate almost anything.
There are ways, but there are limitations.
So if you really want to take a really big dick, you got to be okay with anal.
Absolutely.
Then you can take it.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're screwed. You're fucked.
Or not. You're not fully fucked. You're only partially fucked.
Exactly.
So,
all right. Yes. You go into this part.
I'm going to go into measuring. I can neither confirm nor deny that I have measured my cock before. Every guy who's listening to this episode has whipped a ruler out, tape measure, some implement to measure not only length but girth.
Which I think is really funny because as women, we don't like. The only thing we measure is boobs, but that's for bra size. And then we don't measure our labia or our clitoris.
There are lots of things that you guys measure, and I think it's disturbing and wrong.
What do we measure? Oh.
The dress size.
Oh,
all of that.
Yeah.
The fact that.
Size 10, size 8, size 12.
Exactly. I'm not a -3.
Right.
Whatever the hell that is.
That's just marketing fashion baloney.
So, gentlemen, if you are interested in participating in the self-reported Kinsey study, this is how you measure your length.
Okay, go ahead.
There's several measures. One of them is the soft measure, which you can measure, which is interesting to see what the difference is. So the whole concept of shower versus grower,
right?
That's kind of how this comes in.
Yes.
So measuring either when you're soft or erect up against the pubic bone.
Yep.
So if you press right above where your shaft is, if you press kind of into that really lower abdominal, like the lowest abdominal until you hit the penis, there's a bone there. And you basically press the ruler up against that, and then you measure to the tip of the penis. And use the table. I mean, I like to just flop it up on the table.
Oh, you use a table. Oh
yeah, it's kind of nice.
Oh.
I'm just going to lay it up there.
Can we? I swear to God, we should be doing this right now.
Measuring it right now. We'd have to do the soft measurement because I'm.
You're not hard yet.
I'm not currently.
Well, this sexy talk. Sometimes you're like,
we're talking about penises. I'm not all that hot and bothered about penises.
Yeah,
you want to talk about boobies.
Boobies. Should I flash you right now? Maybe I should just take off my clothes.
You should flash me. I don't think it's going to do anything in terms of the measurement thing that we're talking about. But if you want to flash me, go for it.
You'll take it. Okay.
I will take boobs in my face any day.
Girth.
Oh, and here's the thing. Even the skin, so let's say you've got a little extra weight, you can compress the skin and any of the tissue that's there above the pelvic bone.
Yep.
Over the top of the pelvic bone in order to get an accurate measurement. But
Yes.
I will tell you that if you do have a little extra, that is reducing the visual size of your penis because that weight, that mass
takes up space,
absorbing space. So there you go.
There you go.
To measure girth, this is where you're going to need either a strip of paper or a cloth tape to measure around. So you're going to measure at the base of the penis or around the middle of the shaft because these two sites were deemed equal. Now, this is interesting because mine kind of flares from the base up to the head.
Yeah.
So I typically measure at the widest section of mine.
Right.
But if you're curious, I mean, measure everything. Measure at the base, measure just below the glands, the head.
Right.
And what those measurements are. I think mine's a little bit thicker, actually right below the glands. It's kind of, I kind of flare in the middle.
Yeah.
I got a Coke bottle cock. I'm just saying. And you measure the circumference. So it's not the width. It's not like measuring a ruler across. It's measuring around. And don't use pi because it's not a circle. So you can't measure the circumference by measuring the diameter and then multiplying by 3.14. You have to measure around because it's an oval. And I'm not going to do the math for you because oval circumferences are totally different.
That's so fascinating. Okay. All righty.
This is why geometry is important. So
oh my God.
When you asked in school why geometry was important, it was because you have to measure your cock. You have to understand.
If they only said that, I would have been way more interested. Oh my God.
Everybody would have been like, oh, I'm paying attention now.
Or if they said you need it to measure the complex shapes of a woman's breast in order to design new bras, I would have been like, hell yeah.
Every pubescent male in America would be genius math students at that point.
The bra is a marvel, honestly. It really is.
Getting the engineering,
the structural support and the right size and fit, marvel. All right, penis average.
All right, this is where the penis hits the road, so to speak.
Okay,
this
you
is
go.
The actual numbers. No, go ahead.
All right. So the flaccid length average is 3.61. And there is a range from 2.8 to 3.9. So in between 3.61. So your flaccid length, Ed is whipping out his penis right now.
I got to check. I'm somewhere in there. I don't know.
Is it on? It's not on the table. Why is it not on the table?
I know.
We got this new high boy table.
And it's perfect. It's actually the perfect height.
This is the perfect table. I don't know why we didn't find this table before. I'd been spending years banging my shins on this low boy table.
Now we're just going to, bang other things on the table.
Length. Erect length. The average is 5.16 or 5.1 to 5.5 inches. It's the combined mean from about 21 studies or between 4.7 and 6.3. But what you really need to know is an erect length average is 5.16. Pretty damn close to 6 inches. So I'm just saying.
That's actually almost an entire inch short of 6 inches.
I know, but it's pretty damn close.
An inch is a big difference.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I'm just saying.
Girth. The flaccid average is 3.66 and the range is 3.5 to 3.9. So if your flaccid girth is 3.66, you're average. If your erect girth is 4.59, you are average. Ed's girth is the size of my wrist.
It is not.
It is the size of my wrist.
Phoebe is exaggerating. It is not nearly the size of her wrist. Her wrists are not that small.
It is the size of my wrist.
I'm just saying.
Okay, my ex-husband's size was this.
Now
I truly
feel inadequate.
Literally measured.
Now, the important thing to
Yes.
understand about this, and this is why we have a second episode about this, because this is all about statistics and averages and studies and the actual physical measurement of the penis. But this has literally jack shit to do with what women care about or like or feel.
Right.
This is just the facts.
Right.
So you have to tune in for the second one. It's very redeeming. So if you're in that average range, slightly above or slightly below average, whatever, tune in again, because the second episode is going to
blow your mind.
or at least relieve some of the anxiety that you're going to feel. You're like, oh my God, I'm just average. I don't have a porn star cock.
Unless you're a size
Nobody
queen.
has a porn star cock. I'm just saying. Porn stars do. Very few people do.
All right. So which country wins with the whole penis size by country?
I think this is a new demonstration sport in the Summer Olympics. Probably not the winter because of shrinkage. But maybe the summer. when
Summer
it's
would
nice
be
and
better.
hot.
Yeah, I agree.
So, who wins the gold medal?
Ding, 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 ding. Ecuador.
Now,
6 point, should I reveal?
Yeah, go for it.
6.933. Almost 7 inches. And so I was like, wait, what? Why is that? And almost 53% are Amerindian as far as ethnicity. 41.77% are European. And then there's a 5.26 that are sub-Saharan African. So the Amerindian and the European
Are the
genetic
vast
background
majority.
contributes to the Ecuadorian ethnicity that is in Ecuador. And this is what happens with the size.
So to qualify, these particular numbers that we're talking about, these are not the self-reported numbers that
No.
grousing about in the earlier part of the episode.
Grousing.
These are numbers based on current scientific peer-reviewed studies of penis size.
I think so. I did not check that, but I'm pretty sure.
Either that or this is completely anecdotal and
It was a really good study. I will be publishing those references in the show notes.
Stay tuned for the sources.
There's
on
like
this.
15 references for all this
So
shit.
at this point, just assume that it's entertainment. When we get the actual blog post, then you can read where the sources are.
Oh my gosh. All right. So in the United States, we're actually middle ranked.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
We're the melting pot, right? Like,
That's true.
Everybody in the world comes here. So if you want average, that's America.
That's right.
America.
5.3 in the United States. 5.346 is the middle. And that's where we are on all the countries in the scale of penises.
Totally makes sense.
Now, if you're, oh my God, this was fascinating. Okay. So, the narrative around Asian men.
The totally negative stereotype about Asian men.
Right?
Yes.
Which is no different than that narrative around BBC, right?
Right. Which is the totally overly positive narrative or stereotype.
And
about
fetishized and all that stuff, right? So in Japan, they are just a smidgen below the United States with an average dick size of 5.339.
Okay, so to be clear, so for the number here, we're talking about 1/100th of an inch.
Yeah. We need to go to Japan.
You need a micrometer to measure the difference
We need to
between
go to
these.
Japan. It'd be so fun.
We do need to go to Japan, but that has nothing
advertise
to do with it.
swingers in Japan?
I'm kind of thinking that's not a
thing.
socially acceptable thing. Although they're pretty kinky
They're
in
really
so many
kinky.
ways.
They're very, very kinky.
But I don't know about swinging. I don't know about swinging. I know about a lot of stuff in Japanese culture
Then
that is not okay, but swinging, I don't know.
Ooh.
Oh, there's a new topic for us.
I know.
Places you can go to swing.
We need to go check it out. Okay. Countries like Cambodia, Burma, Taiwan, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia.
So this is kind of Southern Asia.
Yes, all in that range of 3.95 to 4.52 as a penis size length. And then in Canada, it's 6.185 inches. And in South America, they're all bigger than the US, including European countries and Australia. So not most everybody, but there's a large portion that are larger than the United States. We're in the middle.
Right. So for the Canadians that are listening, apparently you have
Big dicks.
big dicks.
Thank God there are lots of swingers in Canada.
Bunch of Canadians at PCAP, and
I know.
now I feel bad that we didn't mingle more with the Canadians.
I feel bad.
You should feel really bad.
I feel really bad.
But that would have been fascinating.
So this 6.3 inch penis is like this. Men who have this 6.3 inch penis is really in the 95th percentile, or like 1 in 5 men. It's kind of rare. So those porn stars
Who are above 6.3 inches? Oh, yeah.
They're like, the anomaly. And I swear now I'm thinking it's a camera. It's a camera thing.
It's not this isn't a trick of the camera. Those
I
guys
don't know.
are
We might be onto
large.
something.
So just to be clear, because percentile it's a weird number. And if you're not familiar with what a percentile means, 95th percentile means that 95% of the population is below that number. That's what percentile means.
Correct.
So
that is correct.
there you go.
Yes, it's correct.
We're gonna
So
have all of this in the show notes,
right. So
because there's a lot of
90 less than 95 of the
things in
less
there.
than 95% of the people have a 6-inch penis.
Correct.
So this whole 6-inch is average is just bullshit.
Right.
So there you go.
So
now do you all feel better?
Apparently 5% of the entire population is all posting on Reddit and or in porn, because there's a lot of big dicks floating around on the internet.
And camera anomalies. I think it's the camera too.
It could be. And I got to figure out what that technique is, because
let's experiment. We'll put that on your OnlyFans page.
you're using the wrong lens. You got to use the fisheye lens.
You got to get that super uber duper lengthening software.
Photoshop.
What would that be called? The app for link? I was just looking up apps for makeup today for women, like the makeup app. What would this be? The penis lengthening app? What? You got something?
Stretchosaurus. I don't know. Just.
Oh my God. Oh, usually you have really good ones. That one was not so great, but it was funny.
That was, not my best work. I think
penis size. What affects penis size?
there's a bunch of things that can affect penis size. And so the things we're going to talk about here are, if your penis size is average or above average or slightly below average, these things are not helping you in terms of the length of your penis. So diabetes, obesity, heart disease, low testosterone, hypertension, high cholesterol, and nerve damage.
Right.
So what you have to think about is most of these things that we just listed either affect blood flow, which will reduce the thickness and girth and length, because the penis, if you think about it, is nothing more than a organic inner tube. And if you can't get the air into it,
Organic inner tube.
it's not going to grow.
Right.
So
Yeah.
those things will all decrease not only firmness, but size because of lack of blood flow.
The low testosterone was actually really interesting. If you're a mother with a baby in the first trimester of your pregnancy, if you have low testosterone, it will affect your baby's penis size.
You pass it on.
You do. You pass it on. So, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
That's fascinating. So there's a genetic component to this as well.
There's a genetic component.
And
Correct.
As we saw by the country breakdown, if these numbers are to be trusted, you have to think that there's a pretty large component to this, which is genetics, which is based on who your parents and grandparents were and kind of sizes and height. I mean, think about it. If your grandfather was 6'3", the likelihood that you're going to be 6'3" is increased. If you live in a family of average sized people, you're probably going to be average height. So it just goes to say.
Okay, so how do you make your dick bigger? If you're interested in
how to make your dick bigger, supplements do not work.
No,
it is a myth. If you are buying shit off of the internet to make your dick bigger, you're a sucker. It doesn't fucking work.
Shredding your money.
There are surgical procedures to increase your penis length. Now,
it's risky though.
They typically involve cutting a tendon, and it is really suspect. And
tendon?
There's a ligament that runs along the penis that can be surgically altered. I have heard of so many horror stories about things going awry with that, but surgically, there's not much else you can do.
Well, how did they do a sex change then for
an addictomy?
Yeah,
it's not what it's actually called.
Do they take a penis from a cadaver?
No. So if you're talking about trans surgery, so if you're transitioning between female to male,
very sexy.
That's a whole other topic. We won't get into that. But if you're going from a female to male sexual transition, you're transitioning your organs. There's no erectile tissue, so they typically will use something like a pump to add to it. And the penis is actually manufactured from the clitoris, the labia turns into the scrotum, and they typically, now I'm not like up on the latest surgical procedures. I looked at this once a while back. They will take a skin graft from your thigh and turn that soft tissue, that skin, into the shaft.
Interesting.
So they kind of construct from bits and pieces.
They don't use cadavers and skin, and
I think it probably has to do with nerve reconstruction and the fact that you're still not going to have an actual working penis. And if you can't get the erectile tissue to function, it's just going to die.
Yeah, well.
But the skin on the side still has adequate blood flow, and it still has vascular systems that will keep the skin and the tissue alive.
Oh God, another research project. Okay, that's going to be cool.
It's complicated.
Okay.
And let's just say it's now going the other way.
Yeah.
Taking the dick out and turning it into labia. Supposedly that's pretty freaking easy. They like turn it inside out, and they take like the head of the penis and turn it into a clit and all that kind of stuff.
Boop. It's
supposedly it's much easier to go the other way, but there you go.
There you go.
So in terms of surgically altering your penis to be bigger, not likely. It's not really a thing.
Vacuum tube, aka penis pump. That is a possibility.
It is. Now, what it's typically used for, though, is for erectile issues, because what it will do is increase blood flow and increase size, but it's very temporary. It typically only lasts for a very brief period of time.
So if was maybe, say, I had a brother who was a male escort / stripper and used a penis pump, would that work?
It would probably work for his show, but a cock ring would have also worked on his G-string in order to pump up his appearance. So you got to figure, guys will do this too. Bodybuilders, they'll get what they call pump. They'll get their pump on.
Yes.
So they'll do like push-ups or curls or something to get the blood flowing into the muscles, which increases their size. So,
right before they go to the club.
Right before they go to the club or right before they go out on stage.
Yep.
That's a thing because the tissue is kind of engorged. And so there it's bigger.
Yes.
But it's temporary.
But it looks good.
It does look good.
Okay. Kegel exercises. Explain. I didn't know they called them the same thing. This was fascinating to me. I was like, what? Men have Kegels too?
Totally. So these are your lower pelvic muscles, and that the muscles that you use to kind of cut off the pee flow when you're peeing, or if your penis is erect and you want to make it bob up and down, that clenching
I've seen that
thing. I like to do that. It's fun. Those Kegel exercises are actually really good. They're not going to make your penis bigger, but they will increase the strength of your ejaculation, the intensity of your orgasms, just like women. And it's a fun party trick where you can wave stick around, which is super cool.
Without touching it.
Without touching it. You're like, look, no hands.
No hands.
And there they go.
Cock ring. You've already talked about the cock ring.
I talked about cock rings a little bit, but I want to add something to this. This is clearly this is Dick's, 100% Dick's episode. Cock rings. I've been looking at cock rings because a friend of ours in Vegas had a really cool cock ring. It was super decorative. It was almost like cock jewelry.
Yeah.
I looked at them. They're kind of cool. There's a pro and con. So I want to get this out because this is a little bit of a fact about cock rings. Any kind of a cock ring that reduces the circulation. And the idea with cock rings that reduce circulation, in other words, they kind of constrict a little bit, is the blood flows in and engorges the penis, but then it can't come out.
Oh.
It kind of gets stuck there. So it's kind of like priapism, where they say, if you have an erection that lasts more than 4 hours, please consult your medical, whatever.
Go to the emergency room.
Yeah, because they basically stick a syringe in there and they drain the blood out because it's really bad. So wearing a cock ring for more than 20 minutes, this is the recommended length of time, isn't good. Because what you're doing is it's not a tourniquet, but it's cutting off the blood flow to an organ, to a part of your body.
Oh, wow.
And that's not good. Basically, the blood gets stale. There's no oxygen in there, and the tissue won't actually... It's bad. Let's just say it that way. It's bad for your tissue if it stays erect for too long because the oxygen's not getting in there.
20 minutes. Wow.
20 minutes.
Gosh.
So
okay.
You can't wear a cock ring for hours. It's really good for, a short spurt, if you will.
So was the jewelry adjustable? Could you just...
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the trick. If you can get a cock ring for jewelry that's adjustable and it's not actually cutting the blood flow off or constricting, then you can wear it for longer. But it doesn't perform the same function as a cock ring that's compressing the tissue or the blood flow. So you don't get the same kind of effect. It looks good. Now,
it did look good. I liked it.
It does look good. Now, here's a not blood flow visual improvement. A cock ring will actually kind of tilt the balls up a little bit, which will press the penis up a little bit, which will make the pouch, that bulge, look a little more prominent because you've got a little prop. You got a little kickstand that's kind of pushing it up.
Right.
So a lot of times guys will wear cock rings to make their bulge look a little bigger. So you can actually use a cock ring to make your cock look bigger. It's just propping it up. It's not making it actually bigger.
It's a cock
makes
stand.
the bulge. Yeah, it's a cock stand. It's not a kickstand. It's a cock stand.
It's great.
And
I love it.
a lot of times for models or for visual aspect, wearing that cock ring is cool.
In underwear or something where you can't see.
Yeah, or a bathing suit or something like that where you want it to kind of pop out a little bit.
I learned about this, and I don't know how much I'm going to talk about it, or have you talk about it, but oh my gosh, this was fascinating to me. There's this technique called Jelqing.
Okay.
It's a set of penis stretches that are exercises to make the penis bigger.
Yeah.
There are two schools of thought. The exercises help increase the amount of blood a penis can accommodate during erection. And the other school of thought is that the force that it creates is essentially micro tears in the penile tissue that will expand as they heal, kind of like, when you're working out your bicep or whatever. Men's Health called it the bodybuilding for your penis or tissue remodeling, according to this to Dr. Paul Turek. But the results are minimal or temporary at best.
Yeah.
And it made me really nervous.
Yeah, and I've seen things like this before where they'll use like a weight to kind of grasp the head of the penis and basically stretch the penis
it down. Yes.
And you have to think there are two parts of the human body that heal really rapidly.
Yeah.
One of them is your mouth, and the other is your genitals. And the reason that's true, at least from our biology, those skin cells repair themselves rapidly is one, if you can't eat, you're going to die. And if you can't reproduce, your species is going to die.
Yeah.
So those tissues, for some particular reason, I don't know, call it Darwinism, will heal really rapidly. So even if you've got micro tears, it's going to heal itself.
Yeah.
So it's going to go back to where it was. Now,
kind of makes sense.
That's my theory on it. I've seen these exercises before. I think the closest thing that I've seen that actually does work for men who are circumcised, because we're talking about dicks, let's just go into the circumcision thing too. For circumcision, I've actually heard of people stretching the skin to rebuild their foreskin. And there's a particular attachment and set of cups and graspers to basically stretch the foreskin to basically rebuild or regrow that tissue through micro tears, etc., and get your foreskin back to basically undo your circumcision.
Aww.
Which is kind of cool. I
love that.
It's unfortunate that I'm circumcised. It was the norm at the time, but at the same time, I wonder what my penis would be like without having been medically altered multiple times
without your consent.
Right. It's the modern equivalent of genital mutilation in first world countries. But
it's very fresh. Yeah. Don't get me started. Maybe that's another episode.
Yeah. No, we haven't even encountered very many non-circumcised penises.
Our last boat day, though, one of our guests did have an uncircumcised penis.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
I did.
Wait, that's because you were playing with the penises.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to have to tell me all about that.
I know. So it's a treat when I see an uncircumcised, an uncircumcised.
It's kind of like finding a 4-leaf clover. There's not that common.
No, there's not.
Which is crazy because...
And he was older than me, so
very unusual.
It was very unusual for that time,
to
be uncircumcised. Which I'm sure he had a lot of teasing about in school.
I don't know.
I'm dying to ask him.
So you can kind of think about that. We're talking about like penis length and erections typically when you're measuring things. And so you can think about ED treatments, sildenafil, Viagra, tadalafil, which is Cialis. There's another one, Levitra. vardenafil. It's funny how they're all fills.
Yeah.
I guess you fill up on them.
Yeah.
They'll increase the rigor, the firmness of a penis, but they're not necessarily going to increase the length, although you can...
It might.
Well, what you could argue is because the penis is more erect, it's fully extended.
Right.
So it's not going to give you more than what you had, but it's going to maximize what you do have. It's going to...
Right.
You're going to live to your full potential.
Right. That makes sense.
You're erect to your maximum length.
Right.
Stretch
you to your fullest.
Which I think is true, because if I'm only semi-erect, I'm not as girthy and I'm not as long.
True. Right. That's true. And, then as far as how to make your dick bigger, I mean, there's always the mental aspect.
100%. There's a lot of mental aspect to it.
And if you're depressed, or if you have a lot of stress or any kind of negative self-talk, there's that component that you may want to address, and that affects it as well. And then lifestyle changes, like get more sleep, maintaining a healthy diet. So, all these things.
Right. Anything that would affect the firmness of your erection and therefore the length or the size, because the not fully inflated balloon is going to be a smaller size, will obviously affect that size. So
exactly,
take care of yourself, take care of your health, drink water, hydrate, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. All right, I like this part. We're gonna kind of wrap it up with this whole how to give your children a big dick.
Which is funny pseudoscience, maybe.
Yeah. And so I discovered, when I read this, of course, I had to turn around and ask Ed, and I'm like, oh my God, your mom ate these all the time when she was pregnant. And what did she eat?
Avocados, guacamole, to be specific.
And eaten in the first trimester of your pregnancy, when the high testosterone levels are important for penis formation, studies indicate avocados boost testosterone to help your body maintain those testosterone levels due to the magnesium and boron content.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding. So holy crap. Eat more avocados.
In the first trimester.
Yeah. But you know what? I say, just give me avocado. I'll eat them all day long.
Right. Because who doesn't love avocados? Now, the irony with this, of course, is genetics probably have a much higher effect on things.
The genetic and that first trimester testosterone levels of your mom is actually pretty big. It's a huge factor.
I could see that.
But both of those things, for sure. No matter what your size, it's how you use it. If your nerves get to you and performance suffers, then maybe one-time fucks are not your thing. Take the time to get to know a couple first. Maybe distractions are problematic, so get rid of those. Use Viagra or Cialis to overcome mental overload and the fact that your body wants to fall asleep by the time people want to fuck. Whatever it is, use what is available to you and set up those sexy environments for success.
And definitely tune in for the second part of this, where we'll give the woman's perspective on whether size really matters.
Absolutely.